My name's Olivia and I am a graphic design student. I am a freshman and I just completed my first semester. So I thought it would be kind of fun to do a little recap over all the projects that I did and also flip through my sketchbook and just take a look at everything that's happened over the semester. Because it felt like a lot, but I have a feeling that it's only gonna get more intense. So just for anybody that's interested in studying graphic design or just interested in going to college for art, or just for me to look back on.
Alright, so this is my sketchbook. I've got you guys on a pile of books. Hope you don't fall. Okay, so let's open her up. Alright, so first of all, our first project here was we had to draw an interior. This was for Design Foundations 1, and Design Foundations 1 is actually a lot to do with just basic drawing principles, such as perspective and value and shape and form. So that's a lot of what we're doing. I actually drew my apartment here. So this is the sketch, and then I'll show you the final project. Cool. Alright, moving right along. So this is a bunch of thumbnails for a project in Foundations 2. It had to do with 5 black squares. So we had to arrange these 5 black squares in a way that conveys a word. So the 4 words that we had to do were congestion. So I had like a bunch of squares kind of like mashed up together and, you know, I don't know, just feeling congested, I guess. Individuality, so I have ones where one square is turned differently than the other ones, or like all the squares are up here and then one is down here, just to kind of show it's individual, it's unique. And the third word was tension. For tension, I did some where, you know, they were really close to each other and it was really tense because everybody was really close to each other. I did ones where the corners were overlapping, and I did ones where the squares were kind of poking each other with the corners. And then the fourth one is playfulness, and so I did ones that are shaped kind of like a smiley face. Yeah. And then ones that are just kind of thrown throughout the page, kind of fun-like, to represent playfulness. This was just us practicing making cast shadows. We had to practice with light sources and what that meant, casting a shadow on a shape, and how you would shade that shape to make it look three-dimensional. So this is just more examples of that, different shapes and how they look whenever a light is cast on them and how a cast shadow would happen. And then this one, we had to do an exterior. This was also for Foundations 1. I got a little bit carried away with the sketch there. I love drawing houses. It's so much fun. I think actually the sketch came out better than the piece itself. Maybe I'm just a fan of sketches in general though, so that could be part of it. This here is just some notes. Okay, so this is a project from Foundations 2, which is kind of the more like designy class, I guess. So we had to portray different principles of design, emphasis, so just making something about it stand out. I liked this one because the line here is really heavy, so it's like there's emphasis on that dark line. I also liked this one because out of all the other triangles, this one was dark and larger than the other ones, making it, you know, making the viewer's eye go to that one rather than the other ones. Okay, and then we have variety, which I spelled so wrong. I ended up choosing something like this for the final. It's just a bunch of different shapes kind of all together. And unity, is just kind of creating a sense of togetherness and just completeness. I really liked this one. It kind of had a yin-yang feel to it. I actually did that shape a lot throughout these thumbnails. Repetition, which, you know, is pretty self-explanatory. You just have to make it repeat. So the one that I went with towards the end was this one, which is just the checkered board pattern. Rhythm. So I did a heartbeat, which at the time I thought was really creative and fun. Turns out everyone in the class did that. Everyone did it. So we actually weren't allowed to have that as our final because it was too unoriginal. But what is original these days, you know? Balance. So asymmetrical balance, symmetrical balance. I had a pretty cool idea going with this hourglass kind of idea, but towards the end of the project, the professors actually told us that we shouldn't have something that looks like a real life object. So like this wouldn't be allowed because it looks like lips. This wouldn't be allowed because it looks like an hourglass. So yeah, this wouldn't be allowed over here. But moving on, economy. I actually hadn't heard of economy like throughout high school because I've learned about the principles of design, but I just had never heard of economy. So this one was a new one for me. I think I ended up with doing a small cube kind of looking thing. And then we also had to do a cover for all of these. So the project in the end kind of looked like a book. And we had to make a cover for it, obviously. And the project name was Principles in Action. So you can see I played around with several different ways of arranging the words, making action look like it's actually moving, and I don't know. Just doing kind of cool things with the letters and the lines. And I also did my name as well to kind of match on the back. Okay, and oh, this was for Foundations 1. We had to draw a vase. It was probably the most boring project. You can see here you had to do general shapes and then draw the actual thing over tracing paper. Really boring. Didn't really like this one. Who wants to draw a vase? Not me, sorry. Yeah, so we had to do a bunch of different ones. Yep. Not exciting whatsoever. Yeah. And this was just a random sketch that I did. So in this one, we were actually learning how to draw fences and how to make it look evenly spaced, even as it's going farther away from the viewer's eye. And then here's another example of that with the pillars going away from the viewer. This, I believe, is the start to one of my final projects, yes, where I drew the interior of a tiny home. And then this one was a project where we had to draw a metallic object. You can see here, concept, I didn't like it, and then, you know, some shaded, big, rough, final rough looking thing, and then the final piece.
So this right here is actually a project that I didn't get to talk about since all the sketchbook pages are actually in the bag. This was a project from Foundations 2, and it was called Symbol Set. All the students were assigned a different establishment in a way, so I was assigned a grocery store, and basically we just had to make a whole bunch of different icons to represent different parts of the store. So since mine was a grocery store, I had to make symbols for like the bakery, canned goods, coffee, tea, vegan, frozen, flower section, deli, you know, that kind of thing. And this was the final project. And on the back, it has all the little pictures and my name. Yeah.
So this was a project, our final project in Foundations 1, and it was about birdhouses, kind of like the birdhouse of our soul or whatever. And get ready for this. Birds living in baby dolls. This is inspired by Doll Island, if you know what that was. This didn't make it to the final because our final actually had to be in 2-point perspective, and I didn't know how to do this in 2-point perspective, so I didn't. I actually went with an idea like this one right here. Like the birds moved into the human house and made homes in the chair, the lampshade, the bookcase, stuff like that. Alright, and so this is my final project for Foundations 2. It was called Looks Like, Sounds Like. We had to choose a quote and kind of make the quote look like what it sounds like. So one of the quotes that I chose was from The Last of Us. It's, no matter what, you keep finding something to fight for. And so you can see the various ways I played around with that. I also chose one from The Incredibles, and one from The Breakfast Club, which is, if he gets up, we'll all get up, it'll be anarchy. So you can kind of see I played around with like making anarchy really big and chaotic looking like anarchy is supposed to be. And then if you're familiar with The Last of Us at all, I played around with making the quote look like a watch, because that's important to the story. Making the quote kind of fit in a circle, you know, stuff like that. And then this was me playing around with inking it. Yep. So here are some roughs. So playing with the anarchy, the no matter what, keep finding something to fight for, more anarchy, fight for. The men, saving the world to the men, I do not think so. Anarchy, 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 fight for, anarchy, fight for, world, fight for. So, and this is actually what I came up with in the end.
I actually don't have my finals for the Looks Like Sounds Like project. Since it was our final project, the professor still has it. But I do have my refined roughs, so it's gonna look a lot like my final did, except my final just looked a little bit better.
But yeah, so that is my sketchbook from Foundations 1 and 2.
Alright, that's pretty much it. So that was my whole first freshman semester of studying graphic design. Really fun, really exciting, tough work. So if you're interested in studying graphic design, I would definitely recommend it. I feel like it's a really, really fun major, but you have to have passion for it. It's just a lot of work, so you have to have the passion for it. And as long as you have that passion, I feel like it'll carry you anywhere. I hope everybody has a great day, night, whatever time it is. And yeah. Bye.